That does stand out to me with this time is the fact that we're getting this cold even without the snow on the ground. Usually the snow helps reflect a lot of our heat back into the atmosphere, and it's just this cold without that snow this time.
Yeah, if we were dealing with the same atmosphere, same air mass, but with about a 10-inch snowpack, let's say, on the ground, yeah, we'd be making a run at records overnight tonight for sure. But instead, it's just ridiculously cold. And
even though we're not seeing much snow in the forecast, there are places in the country that are.
Yeah, in fact, people along the Gulf Coast are bracing for one of the biggest winter storms they've seen in many years.
Several inches of snow could fall in places that rarely see it. Our sister station, WVUE in New Orleans, reports on how people are getting ready.
North Shore residents were stocking up today on pipe insulation, firewood, and heaters as parish officials sounded the warning about freezing temperatures and heavy snow.
We anticipate roads will become impassable, and we encourage again all citizens to prepare to be self-reliant in your homes or wherever you're staying tonight for several days.
At Mandeville's O'Reilly Auto Parts store, they're having a tough time keeping up with some items needed to keep your car safe through several days of freeze.
You'll spray it on the windshield, and it'll help with getting the ice broken up so you can scrape it off and you'll have visibility through the storm.
Across the street at Mandeville's Ace Hardware, pipe insulation is a hot commodity.
Yeah, we're plenty stocked up on firewood, propane, plenty of insulation, faucet covers. You know, we're still ready to stock everybody up.
Causeway officials have also stocked up on de-icing pellets and liquids and will be putting out cones later tonight.
Tonight, around 9 or 10 o'clock, once the rush hour is complete, we're going to cone off the bridge. We're going to close the left lane and keep the right lane open, thinking that what traffic we do have, the friction of that traffic will keep the bridge deck thawed out and open, mainly for emergency traffic to get back and forth.
Causeway officials say they will be out late tonight closing off one lane of this bridge, probably for the next 2 or 3 days, and they urge all drivers to stay home if you can.
If you can stay home and build a snowman, stay home and build a snowman.
Parish officials say it will be easier to stay home for at least the next 2 days. St. Tammany Parish office buildings, courthouses, and schools are all closed while emergency personnel remain on duty.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bridges, a lot of causeways down in that Gulf Coast area, especially around New Orleans. They're not going to have a lot of ability to get the ice and snow off of those once the temperatures go this cold. So winter storm warning stretches from not quite to Brownsville, Texas, way south there, but still very, very far south in the country, all up along the Gulf Coast through New Orleans, up into the Florida Panhandle and into South Carolina. Very rare to see this. In fact, it's been years and years since they've had this type of alert in effect, and there's other alerts surrounding that too. In terms of who's going to see the snowfall, the potential is there from near Corpus Christi through Houston, the New Orleans area, especially the farther you get from the coast, and yes, even portions of Florida. There's going to be a number of cities in the south that will have had more snow this season so far than many of us have in eastern Iowa after this storm moves through. It's going to be a remarkable one. You're going to be hearing more about it in the coming days too.
Now, your first alert forecast with meteorologist Hannah Messier.
Looking into some of the numbers earlier today, I saw that so far in this winter season, Cedar Rapids has only gotten about 1.5 inches of snow. So it is kind of interesting that people way far south are seeing more chances for snow in this January than we are. That being said, it's still very frigid up here in the Hawkeye State. We have that cold weather warning in effect for places along and north of Highway 30, south of Highway 30. That's where we have that advisory in place, but that just means it's going to be cold pretty much everywhere in eastern Iowa. If you have to be out and about tonight or tomorrow, make sure to spend as little time outside as possible and to wear as many winter clothes and layers as possible, because this isn't a kind of cold you want to mess with. That's why cold is highlighted on your first alert. Wind chills ranging from -20 to -35. The coldest part will be from midnight tonight all the way through noon tomorrow, which is why a lot of schools have already canceled the day for tomorrow. This is the view on the Decorah City Cam, and one thing that's kind of nice about the cold is that it really does make it easier to see some of those stars. We can see one of those stars on our Decorah City Cam tonight. Temperatures currently in the single digits above and below zero, with winds coming out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Pair these temperatures with these winds, and this is what it feels like out there right now. Minus 28 in Fayette, minus 20 in Cedar Rapids, minus 15 in Oskaloosa. Wherever you are in the area tonight, it's just very cold. With that clear sky across the region, we did see a few flurries on some city cams earlier today, but now we've got those clear skies in place in the area. We have tonight winds coming out of the north. That is continuing to drag in all of that cold air into the area. For tonight, we're going to have skies pretty clear, and then Tuesday morning, waking up to some beautiful sunshine. Headed into Tuesday afternoon, still seeing pretty clear skies. Late afternoon and evening, though, that's when some clouds are going to come into the area, and that's when the winds are going to start to shift, coming in from the south, warming things up a little bit. Overnight, actual temperatures. These are the actual temperatures tonight. Minus 17 in Fayette to minus 14 in Cedar Rapids, minus 14 in Washington, with winds coming out of the northwest. And tomorrow, actual highs only reaching the single digits above zero. 5 in Fayette, 5 in Decorah, and only rising to 9 in Iowa City. We do have a very slight chance for snow that we're keeping an eye on. We have just a little system coming in from the north on Wednesday, impacting us during the day. Then that clears out as we head into Thursday. Friday also looks pretty dry. In our long-term temperature outlook, there is a little bit of hope. January 27th through February 2nd. Warmer than normal conditions forecasted for parts of the Midwest. So if it's cold now, it looks like it might be a little bit warmer later. In our long-term precipitation outlook, we have equal chances for above and below average precipitation during that time period. Here's the next few days. 7 degrees tomorrow, but then Wednesday a bit warmer, 29, with that slight chance for some snow showers. 23 on Thursday, and look at that. We're going to be in the 20s on Friday and the 30s on Saturday, 20s on Sunday, and 40 degrees, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. So it is going to warm up. We just have to kind of hide inside our houses with lots of blankets overnight tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Even into the afternoon tomorrow with those below zero wind chills, but it's not far away. You really often do hit this kind of rock bottom, the coldest part of a cold snap, right before things start to improve. And so it's just one more day.
And I think statistically, this is like the coldest day in Iowa usually. So that's kind of fun that it comes on what might be the coldest day of the season.
Yeah, it is always fun when that works out like it should. Now this January, we've been almost snow-free for most of it. There's been a couple of little incidents, but not much. That contrasts in a pretty big way to late January 1996 when a lot of snow fell on multiple occasions.
It's terrible. It's freezing. I'm chilly. My feet are numb.
Yeah, I kind of get that, and I kind of remember it too. This was scenes from January 26, 1996, when real heavy snow fell across a good portion of the state of Iowa, including all of eastern Iowa, except for the very far southeast. You could see tires spinning on vehicles trying to get around that day. Areas of road closures were seen, and even some folks spent much of the day trying to dig out, or at least keep ahead of it. Now, these folks had a clever idea, using their snowmobile to get around city streets, maybe not street legal, but certainly a little bit more efficient than trying to spin those wheels out and about. Now, temperatures were very cold among this time, and it was a big snow system that also came with some very strong winds. In fact, gusts up to 64 miles per hour were observed as the system moved through, and it just dumped tons of snow. You can see this heavy swath from central Iowa near Des Moines all the way up through Wisconsin of at least 10 inches of snow. That included a good portion of eastern Iowa too. In terms of some of those heavier totals, the entire state saw at least a little bit, and with those really strong winds, it caused pretty dangerous conditions. In fact, it was a blizzard. Blizzard warnings were in effect, and it did cause lots of trouble, including some unfortunate fatalities with this system moving through. Now, KCRG TV9's Mike Wagner was reporting at the time on how people were coping and what the aftermath of this storm was.
End loaders, normally used to dig holes for new homes, spent the early morning hours building walls of snow around empty parking lots. By sunrise, snowblowers chewed up snow-covered sidewalks and spit pile after pile to the side. A huge crane lifted piles of debris from inside a North Liberty factory to the ground outside. Half of the roof at Advanced Millworks collapsed during Friday's snowstorm. No one was inside, so nobody got hurt. Tow trucks winched wounded cars and trucks back onto the road in Coralville. Crews say it took 15 to 90 minutes to rescue most people and get them going again.
It's 11:30 right now. How many of you pulled out today?
I've had 3 that I pulled out so far, and I've got another one up on 380 and one out by Solon yet that I know of. And there's plenty more out there.
There's plenty of pole in some places, but not in others along First Avenue. Call it magic or modern art. A snow tractor bounced off a train and then slammed into the pole, wiping out a 6-foot section. Austin Postler and his friends shoveled out sections of snow as they turned a snowdrift into a snow fort. The 10-year-old says city workers did some of the remodeling.
Well, last night we started just building a tunnel. Then the power came in and caved up the other side, and so then we just started building an igloo.
And while there are some of us who really can't live without this snow and ice, there are those of us who long for the day when the only snow or ice we see is in a cone or on a stick. From the Iowa City newsroom, Mike Wagner, KCRG TV9 News.
Yeah, the Gazette rephrased it as a full-fledged blizzard is how it was at the time. And yeah, it really was. It was snarling traffic all around the state as travel conditions got really poor, and it's easy to tell why. Cresco reported 17.5 inches, Dorchester 16.5, Waukon 16, Dubuque at 14. So it really was those northeastern counties in the state that saw those highest totals. But Cedar Rapids and Iowa City just about 9 or 10 inches, and Marlou got 7 inches. And when the winds are blowing at 35 to 45 miles per hour, unfortunately that causes a lot of trouble. Because Gazette reported at the time that up to as many as 7 people were killed in this storm, mainly in traffic situations because of the exposure to cold air as that moved in on those strong winds. That was another cause there. And we did see totals of 10 to 14 inches across a good portion of the state. Thundersnow was also very common around the state. That led to snowfall rates as high as 3 inches per hour, which is a pretty insane amount of snow to be falling at one time. Winds were as high as 35 to 45 miles per hour, as noted. That caused near zero visibility, and travel was extremely difficult. Cancellations were extremely widespread during that time, too, in terms of lots of school being missed during that time. Yeah, it was quite a situation. I remember it pretty well. Had my family, just a little personal anecdote, we were just moved into a new house, our first winter in that house, and learned what it was like living out in a somewhat rural area in terms of how bad it can get when the snow starts to blow around. Yeah, something we'll remember, and I think we're actually going to probably end up looking back at 1996 coming up next week as well, as there was more consequences from all of this then too.
Certainly a ton of snow, but some of my favorite childhood memories is getting to stay home because of a snow day and playing in it. But of course, we don't have much of that in our first alert forecast. However, we do have those very cold wind chills in the forecast. This is what it's going to feel like as we head into the overnight hours. As we're going to see wind chills in the 20s and 30s below zero. And then on Wednesday, warmer temperatures, but of course we do have that chance for some light snow showers developing on Wednesday, moving through the Hawkeye State and then exiting the area. Just some light snow showers that we are keeping an eye on. And one little bright note in our first alert forecast is the fact that we are starting to gain more of that daylight. The winter solstice was about a month ago. We had 9 hours, 7 minutes, and 7 seconds of daylight on the winter solstice. And on Thursday, we'll have 9 hours, 43 minutes, and 33 seconds of daylight, which means on Thursday, we'll have gained 36 minutes and 26 seconds since the winter solstice, which is a little bit of a plus when we're dealing with, those really cold temperatures like we are overnight. Headed into the later part of the week, 30s on Saturday, 20s on Sunday. So we kind of bounce around the 20s and 30s for the weekend before we see temperatures rise even further for Tuesday and Wednesday. But really important for people to remember those wind chill safety things. If you go outside, do not plan to spend a lot of time out there. Even just a little bit of skin exposure isn't going to be good tonight because frostbite's only possible in like 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes or less in some cases, depending on how cold it is. So it's very good advice. Stay warm tonight. We will see you back here again tomorrow night when it won't be as cold here on First Alert Weather Now. But for now, have a good night.